This country, in my humble opinion, is not necessarily the opinion of the general populace, is not in need of leadership. This country needs mothering. This country needs fathering. And hence, as Vic, how you got the men to stand, and that really, that touched me deeply. And so on that note, I want to acknowledge our matriarchs. As I look at you on this day, I think of my wife and my mum. And I look at you, and I think of that matriarchal constitution that resides within you. Your sexuality is what I'm referring to. It's a constitution that deserves commitment, loyalty, adulation, love, compassion, forgiveness, protection, security, nurturing, and nourishing. And as I say to the young women up and down the length and breadth of this country, if anybody chooses to partake of that constitution and they don't bring those things to the table, this is what you say to them. Don't even go there. Oh. And until this country gets that right, we will never, ever truly move forward. That matriarchal constitution is the cornerstone of the home. It's the cornerstone of the community. It's the cornerstone of the country. Why? Why, pray tell, would that be? I'll tell you why. Whose puku did we come forth from? To who was that umbilical cord attached? Whose bosom did we suckle at? Who? This country needs mothering. It doesn't need leadership. It needs servants. Those are willing to serve for the people, by the people, of the people. To serve without expectation or want of reward. If that's too big a responsibility to put on our shoulders, go and pick apples. With all due respect to apple pickers. So I just wanted to get that off my chest, te hamua. And to our men, we are the hunters and gatherers. We, that patriarchal constitution, is there to protect, is there to honor said matriarchal constitution. It is our evangelical calling to provide the provision, the love, the inspiration. That is our evangelical patriarchal calling. I reside within a metropolis of 10,000 people. And I'm glad that one of my dearest friends is sitting here, Senior Sergeant Greg Brown and his lovely wife, Michelle. I'm the chairman of our local marae there, and Greg is one of the many Pākehā on that trust. And it's just a wonderful thing to behold, to reside within that bosom. There are two places that I'm passionate about on the face of the earth, Ruatoria and Flaxmere. I don't want to be too long, but just to say, 2008, there was a vicious home invasion of my daughter's home. A knock at the door. She was breastfeeding our then 8-week-old granddaughter, Aorangi. So when you get visitors, what do? You're fulfilling your womanly obligations. You make yourself inconspicuous, as she did, went into the room, continued to breastfeed Aorangi. Her then partner goes to the door, opens the door, and is greeted by 3 young men, yay high, yay wide, bandanas, hoodies. And being the polite, diplomatic young man that he is, proceeded to reach forth with the hand of friendship and was confronted with fists and boots and put his head through the wall, just beat him to within an inch of his life. There's our daughter in the room next door hearing all of this kerfuffle, the profanities that just flow trippingly from the tip of their tongues. You effing this, where's your effing missus? Here's where I have newfound respect for that matriarchal constitution. Did she decamp or leave? No. She put Orangi in the corner, covered her over, put some clothes over it, suitcases around her, and went to the entrance of the lounge and said to these young men who continued to beat him, and said, "Here I am." They took one look at her and left. Not that she isn't kind on the eye, but a case of mistaken identity. Leaving out a lot of detail. 3 hours later, they returned from A&E. I hardly recognized him. A man, 23 years old? But he looked many years that. And our daughter suffered the same, but more in an emotional sense. In no time at all, the Kumara Vine in Flaxmere works quicker than texting, quicker than Facebook. In no time at all, we were inundated with friends and family and strangers even. Utu was on the tip of their lips. It would have taken me all of 5 minutes to find out who those young men were. We eventually did. We drank copious amounts of coffee that evening. There wasn't a heck of a lot we could say to my daughter or her then partner. What could you say? How could you comfort them? The odd soft, kind word? Until I'd suggest it was about 3 a.m. in the morning and somebody said, this country refers to me as the International Ambassador of Love. That's quite a mantle, isn't it? It's quite something to live up to. Well, I can tell you now, there wasn't a heck of a lot of love flowing through my veins. And as a youth justice coordinator, I dealt with it all. Aggravated robbery, kidnapping, homicide, manslaughter. I dealt with it all. And in some ways you grow slightly immune to it. But when it affects your own, your most beloved, I can tell you now, it cuts pretty close to the bone. As it did on this occasion. Somebody said to me, "Okay, Mr. Ambassador of Love, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What are we going to do about it?" Well, without critiquing it, questioning it, the first thing that popped into my head was, we're going to march. We're going to march. Every man, woman, and child in this community, we are going to march. And we're going to take our community back. Every brick, every mortar, every bone, every muscle, every sinew, we are going to take it back. What a timely intrusion. You can plagiarize that word. I said, we're going to march. So that next fortnight, I spent rallying the troops. Prior to our hikoi, there were 3 other home invasions in the Hastings district. So if I was a marketing person, I couldn't have, Saatchi and Saatchi couldn't have done a better job. So we were front page, radio, television, and I just kept feeding that frenzy in an attempt to unite this beloved suburb of ours. The week before our hikoi, there was a machete attack at a 21st birthday party in a little settlement just south of Flaxmere. As you can imagine, the emotion, it was sky high. It was rocketing. So on the day of our hikoi at Ron Georgie Park in Flaxmere, we thought we'd wander on over, family and friends, about an hour early. What was to greet us on arrival there was just, well, quite frankly, it restored my faith in mankind. There were buses and vans and cars and schools, and there were young and old and wheelchair-ridden people with toko. They were all there. And so we marched into the CBD Hastings. The police came to see me, and they attempted to convince me not to go down the main arterial routes. They said, "No, we don't want you to inconvenience the traffic." I deliberately held it on a Friday, the busiest time. And I said, "No, we're going down the main arterial routes. I want to inconvenience this populace as much as I can. We are not hiding away. It's a way we did. Some of the shops closed out of respect. We get into the CBD, there's a pohiri. It was magnificent. There was singing intimately and hakas all along the route. As you would expect on occasions such as that, every known political genre all of a sudden materialized out of thin air. And they exhorted the people, we cannot tolerate this, we must not accept this. If you do this, these are the consequences. And I can remember sitting there thinking, what are you going to say? What are you going to say that's different? What are you going to say that's going to remain with these people for the rest of their lives? What are you going to say that's going to caress their ear, that's going to find permanent residence in their hearts? What are you going to say? And I felt myself saying this: what is standing here today cannot be legislated. These children, it's not Mary, Child, Youth and Family. It's not John, New Zealand Government. It's not Harry, New Zealand Police Force. If you're looking for a solution, take a look in the mirror. If you're looking for a solution, take a look in the mirror. Again, leaving out a lot of detail, about a month later we called a post-hikoi meeting at our marae. About 200 people turned up to that. We had whiteboards inside the whare. And I said something like this: great hikoi, great waiata, great march, great time. What now? What are we going to do now? I want all your ideas. Put them up on the whiteboard. I don't care how silly they may sound or look. Put them up on the whiteboard. And away they went. Oh, and exactly how he said it. Oh, you know what? I think we should have a garden. I think we should plant a whole heap of kai in there and we look after it and we start talking to one another and we come together in this garden. Well, thousands, hundreds of families later, 5.3 hectares, the Flaxmere Community Garden. It's just honestly, Greg will tell you, it's a magnificent sight. We're not only massaging Papa Tuanuku, but we're massaging the hearts and minds of our people. Cost you nothing. It's open 24/7, never locked. You go in and help yourself. That came out of the hikoi. Oh, I think we should go around the streets and cook a feed. They're cooking a feed and, we talk. Hence Tunutunu was born, courtesy of Unison Powerline Company. And we've cooked thousands of sausages. We've just, right in their backyard. We are fixing problems right in the backyard. Anei te whakatauaki o te tangata o Pārakeke. Flaxmere, heal thyself. We're literally taking our community back one sausage at a time. Not an exaggeration. Again, no government funding. None at all.